Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be hopefully a very quick October reading wrap up. I am late on filming this, and also I have reading vlogs either already up or coming, including a lot of these books, so I don't want to be too repetitive. Before hopping into all the books I read in the month of October, if you're new here, hello, my name is Emily. This is MacInnis Mama, where you will find mostly bookish content. For once in my life, I'm going to try not to ramble on too much, and let's just dive right into the books I read. The first book I read in October was Burn for Jack. Maybe I should scooch a little bit, by Aiden Pierce. This was a monster Halloween erotic novella. I read this for Spookopoly-thon, which that vlog is still coming. It was less than 100 pages and I gave it 4 stars. I actually enjoyed this quite a lot, and Aiden Pierce has some other holiday themed monster romances that I'm interested in trying. There was a little bit of world building, some plot, and there were definitely some horror elements, which was fun to add in October. The romance, of course, could have been fleshed out a bit more, but I think that's asking a little bit too much for 93 pages. It was just a really fun, smutty time. I should have actually told you what it's about. I am rusty. So we're following Jack, who is a pumpkin head monster that haunts this field every Halloween. Our female main character is a descendant of witches, and her great-great-grandmother went to the pumpkin patch on Halloween and apparently just went crazy, lost her mind. And so she's kind of dared to go do that on Halloween night, and Jack, the pumpkin head ghosty monster, certainly catches her. Next I read Rejection by Kay Lorraine and Meg Ann. This is book 2 in the Mate Games series. It's a paranormal college romance. Why choose? We're following this cast of characters. They're in a graduate program, so they're older. They're in their early to mid 20s. And our main character is Sunday. She is a shifter, and there are 4 male characters involved. We have demigods, werewolves, vampires, there's a succubus in here, witches, all kinds of paranormal creatures. I really thought that the first one was a fun time. The dialogue is pretty cringy, and while they made sure to tell us that they were in their 20s and this was a graduate program, trying to kind of age up this romance, our characters still speak like they're 17, 18 years old, and the way that they act, so it didn't really work for me. I gave the second book 2.5 stars. I still feel like it's a silly, goofy time, paranormal or fantasy romance. It's not going to be your new favorite thing, but it was just fun and entertaining to read. However, in this book, our main character goes into heat, and the heat is used as an excuse to, dare I say, almost sexually assault one of the male main characters who has been hesitant to be a part of her harem, if you will. And I really didn't enjoy this. If you want more thoughts, check out my Monster Mash reading vlog on some of these things. I talk about them a lot more in there. Next I read Seduced by the Succubus. I gave this 1 star. It was truly awful. We're following a mage, but he seems more like a priest in training, kind of. And he summons Lilith the succubus. And this was the worst book I have ever read. And do you remember, I think it was in my last reading wrap up, I read Hornado. Okay? This was the worst writing I have ever experienced. It's only 22 pages if you wanted to try it for yourself. I then read The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman, which is book 2 of 3 of His Dark Materials. That's why I'm holding this giant omnibus. I still don't know how to say that properly. I have the bind up of the trilogy here. This is a middle grade polar fantasy, and I enjoy this series. It has a lot of themes of religion and like the church versus, I don't even know what you consider them, the scientists maybe, but there's magic involved and animal companions, and they all have demons, which are kind of like their shadows, but they're animal. They're like animals, but they're attached to them, kind of like a shadow. Like they can't separate. And there's a lot of aspects I really like in here. And I like listening to the audiobooks, which are done by HBO, I believe. But it's just not a favorite. Like if I didn't, I've had this huge bind up since I was a child, and I will keep it for my own children as well if they're ever interested in reading it. If I didn't own this, I would have probably DNF'd this series. Just, it's good, it's entertaining, I have fun listening to it, but I'm not really truly invested, if that makes sense. Like, if I never read the conclusion, which is the Amber Spyglass, I'd be just fine with my life. But I am curious to see where it goes. We had some character deaths in the Subtle Knife, which kind of shocked me a little bit, maybe, I guess you can say. The Subtle Knife definitely increased maybe the age. Like the Golden Compass, the first one, really felt middle grade. You're following small children. And in the second one, there's a little bit more violence. There's like a battle scene. So I don't know. If you've read the conclusion, the Amber Spyglass, let me know if it's worth it. It's also much bigger than the other ones were. Like there are lines in here that split it into thirds, but where my little bookmark is actually the beginning. So like this is the Amber Spyglass, which is bigger than the other two were, so I'm rambling for no reason. I also read that in a vlog that is not up yet. Then Sam and I finished ACOTAR. We are doing our SJM reread together. She is linked in my description box, of course. We are trying to read through all of the books before Crescent City 3, of course, releases. So in October, we finished A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is my third time reading this book, and I really like the start to the series. I think I gave this 5 stars the first time I read it, 4 stars the second time, and 4 stars this time. This series is a lot of fun. I am a Throne of Glass stan, though. I prefer Throne of Glass over ACOTAR, but if you are a romance girly and you don't usually dabble in fantasy, maybe you're trying to get into fantasy, I recommend starting here. Throne of Glass feels less romantic-y and more fantasy with a bit of romance in there, if that makes sense, whereas this feels like a romance just set in a fantasy world. I can't believe I only read 2 physical books. Okay, the next 2 were also in my Monster Mash reading vlog. I have Titan by Gillian Graves. This is a gargoyle daddy dom monster romance, and I had a lot of fun with this. I gave it 4 stars. I don't think I've ever read, besides this one obviously, a daddy dom romance, and that was interesting. I really liked, like, this is a longer one compared to a lot of the monster books I read in October were short. This was over 300 pages, so there's actually a plot, which I tend to prefer. If you're gonna have a weird, heavy quotation marks, romance going on, such as with a gargoyle, in order to like bump up my enjoyment, probably like hold my attention a bit more as well, I do prefer to have some sort of plot going on. And this, they were trying to find like a certain artifact, like the bad guys are holding something that they need to break in, all that sort of stuff, and that was a lot of fun. I didn't like that our main character, Jules, had a side issue with her mother. And I feel like that side issue, which we are like let in on a decent amount through the story, didn't really get resolved. And I wish that it had. But I am looking forward to the second book. This is a series. I then read Love, Laugh, Lich, which is the first book in the Claws and Cubicles series by Kate Pryor. I gave this 3 stars. It was once again under 100 pages. A lich is like an undead beast basically who wears like the cloak, kind of looks like the Grim Reaper but is not just all about death. That's kind of what I gathered. He has like a tail, 3 eggplants, lion's mane, leathery skin. I don't know all of the descriptors for our male main character. This was fun, but a lot of things didn't make sense. So it's an office place romance. It feels very corporate America, but then they're writing with quills. So that didn't fully make sense to me. If you watched my Monster Mash readathon, I go hard on the I'm so over virginal female main characters who immediately, their very first time being kissed, are also getting railed by an undead dark lord who has 3. You know what I mean. Seems a little unrealistic to me. Not just the undead overlord part. Anyways. And the last book that I read in the month of October was actually a non-fiction, and that was Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. I actually wrote like a decently long Goodreads review on this book. I don't usually like dive into personal stuff I have 2 YouTube channels. We keep personal stuff personal for the most part, but for a long time now, I have felt my stress level up to my eyeballs and feel like one mild inconvenience away from a full mental breakdown, and not like a jokey one, but like a real one. And I am under a lot of stress all the time, but a lot of it is internalized and made up stress that I've put on myself. And not in like a perfectionism kind of way, but like in an anxiety disorder kind of way, if you get what I mean. This book stressed me out. It was about stress. I picked it up to learn other ways to manage my stress. Spoiler alert, I've actually just decided to go back on meds. The science was really interesting, but they really hammer in how bad stress is for your body and how it's aging your body, how it's harmful to your heart, how it affects your actual like body chemistry, your brain chemistry. And like, I know being stressed is not good for me. I'm reading this book to help alleviate stress. Now I'm just stressed about being stressed. Like, what I wanted out of this book was, yes, to learn more about stress, but also maybe have some more solutions or strategies on managing stress instead of just being told that I must reduce stress or else, which is what the majority of this book was. And slowly the book kind of turns into a fuck the patriarchy feminist nonfiction, which is fine. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with that subject matter necessarily, but that's not what I wanted out of this book. And it turned into like, women are so stressed all the time because of the patriarchy. Women feel this way because blah, men. And some of the points I felt were valid and other ones were just like, I don't know. I didn't like it. I gave it 3 stars, and the main win that I took from that is I wrote book a fucking doctor's appointment in bold at the top of my to-do list. But those are all of the books I read in the month of October. October was not a great month for me, period. Definitely not a great reading month, but I'm still looking forward to the reading vlogs still to come, such as Spookopalathon. And also I have something with a wheel and something with series finales coming, which is going to be a lot of fun. That's already in progress. I need to stop rambling. Let me know which book you really loved in the month of October, even though we're most of the way through November by now. I'm feeling chatty because my husband has been away on vacation and I just need some adult interaction apparently. Thank you so much for watching my reading wrap up. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!